Thanks, Lara, and thank you very much for the organisers. By definition, principals are very conservative and shy people. I don't occupy this space with any great degree of comfort or at ease, but the cause deserves it, so I'm prepared to be here. I'd rather that picture of those gorgeous kids you had up there earlier, because they're the children I work with, and I've worked with them for over 40 years. This is my 40-year service badge from the department. That's all I got. 40 years, club sandwiches and a cup of tea. However, and it's with that sense of commitment to public education that I'm prepared to stand publicly. Yeah, look at them. I'm going to get sidetracked. I've got stuff here I want to say, but listen, this is what I work with every day. How privileged am I? It is such a privilege. And somebody's going to ask me later, I'm going to get in first, I'm deviating from all my notes. Why did it happen to me? Because 3 years ago I was blindly agreeing with all of this stuff in my school. It was because of these kids. I had a chance sighting of the International Space Station going over Melbourne one weekend. I went to school the next day and I spoke about it. And I wanted to get kids excited about science and space exploration and so on. A week later, I even put it in the newsletter, I spoke about it at the school assembly. A week later, I heard some children talking out in the foyer as raining outside, you say typical Melbourne. And at the end of the day, and I went out and I said, did any of you take up the invitation to check it out? And did mums and dads go online to check out the websites where you can track the International Space Station? And some children said, yes, it was really good. And one little boy popped up and said, yeah, but how did this big world all happen? And this little 8-year-old girl said, oh, it's all in the Bible. Well, that did it for me. Not on my watch was I going to have children thinking and having their own intellectual thoughts and potential ruined or compromised in that kind of way. It prompted me to have a much closer look at the material, and also to do something I have to confess. I started visiting classrooms and observing these lessons from the beginning to the end. Not impressed. And one of the first things I noticed, and I felt a great sense of distress, was when the teacher says, we have ASRI children. Now, will John, Jack, Mary, Bill, blah, 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 please stand up and go to the back of the room or to the next classroom and so on. And I'm sitting quietly in the corner. They knew I was there. A little unusual for the principal just to be sitting in the back corner observing and saying nothing. But this is the kind of thing that was happening. And I found that very, very distressful. So I continued and embarked on a program of familiarising myself with all the material, all the articles I could find to form an opinion. And I thank Marion for contributing to my judgment on this issue, plus Dr. David Zinger from Monash. And I concluded that what was happening in my school was not up to the standard of educational practice that I expect. Full stop. I'm going to get back on track. Out of the tell me when to stop, okay? You must tell me when to stop, because otherwise I'll go on forever. After the news media attention this week, there's so many issues. Where do you start? I'm just going to bring two of them to your attention. There's two issues that kept cropping up. The first one was parent choice, and the view that parents have a choice to have their children involved in this kind of program. Well, this is what I say to that. Yes, parents have a choice. Oops, let me just get rid of this. Why is that happening? Yeah, parents do have a choice. They have a choice to go and enrol their children in a faith-based school. They have a choice to send their children to church on Sundays, the mosque on Saturday, or on Friday rather, the synagogue on Saturday. And they also have a choice to have their children get involved in religious instruction any time out of school hours. And as far as I'm concerned, it seems to me that the parents who choose not to choose SRI, they're the people missing out. It's their decision that's being compromised. They have chosen to send their children to a public school for a good education and for an inclusive schooling experience. It is these parents whose choice is being compromised in their children's education that's being equally compromised by being handed busy work and assigned to the corridor or another classroom, or worse still, sent to the back of the room in earshot of stories about how God made cows, or that your pet dog's going to hell because it doesn't have a soul. Have I made that up? No. That's the kind of stuff kids are hearing in these sessions. And there's more. In Victoria, principals, one of those musts, there's about 6 of them, of which I'm ignoring. One of them is that principals must direct their teachers when SRI takes place in their classrooms. The teacher must not teach the core curriculum. In other words, I have to instruct a teacher to suspend their basic professional obligations. What do you say about that? I mean, I'm not prepared to do that. The second theme that's come up over the last week, of course, is the issue of values. Parents and teachers alike are grossly offended by the suggestion that in our public schools we're not interested or we don't take any serious concerns regarding the teaching of values. How wrong are they? Our children are constantly having values of all sorts being presented to them by you as parents from the moment they're born, and certainly by teachers in authentic, real situations in every school, every day, in virtually every, and certainly every classroom. At my school, we run the You Can Do It program. Anybody familiar with that? Okay, so if you're involved in education and you want to explore that, by all means, go and Google it. It's a great program. It promotes the 5 keys of success, and the core purpose of the program is the development of young people's social and emotional capabilities. The 5 keys to the success are confidence, persistence, organisation, getting along, and resilience. I'm just going to read something from their website. The Essential to the development of these 5 foundations are the 12 habits of mind, including accepting myself, taking risks, being independent, giving effort, working tough, setting goals, being tolerant of others, thinking first, playing by the rules, and social responsibility. Does that cover values? It certainly does. And this last point includes the value of caring, the social responsibility aspect. The last point includes values such as caring, doing your best, freedom, honesty, integrity and respect, and tolerance and inclusion. And it's this last value, and maybe others, that clearly goes out the window when SRI walks into the classroom. The You Can Do It program is established by Professor Michael Bernard from the University of Melbourne, and it's accompanied by significant professional development for teachers and resources. It's a true educational program. Professor Bernard is also the co-founder of the Australian Institute for Rational Emotive Behaviour Therapy. How relevant is that in this debate? Another feature of my own school is the teaching, or the use of teaching strategies known as cooperative learning structures. Embedded in every one of these structures, firstly, is the aim to improve academic performance, and social development simultaneously. So our schools, our great public schools, are doing a great job on the issue of values. And I will not let anyone get away with saying otherwise. I could go on, but I think... 1 minute, okay. Just finally, actually, it says there, finally, the one fundamental question I would be asking anyone who wants to propose bringing SRI into my school or any public school is, what justification can you offer for allowing religious instruction into a primary school classroom, given that it involves the exclusion of children on the grounds of religion? Just give me one justification and I'm listening. As I mentioned earlier, and I'll leave this as my final note, my commentary on this is purely educational. It was after considerable consideration of all the issues, as I mentioned earlier, and I concluded in a very formal way to Access Ministry that what was being delivered in my school did not meet the standards of educational practice that I expect in a school setting. Thank you for your time.